Good afternoon.
Knowing your standards of performance don't change going into the second half, but with carrying a 2-6 record in the second half, do expectations for the second half change in any way?
Well, I think that really, I would answer the question based on the first part of your question. We need to develop, some higher standards, just as far as our performance and play style, and get some consistency there to achieve what ultimately we're trying to get done each and every week. Is that's win football games. So have a lot of changes going on. It's just another challenge coming, another big challenge this week with the Steelers coming to town. So we're actually finishing up with the players here currently, still in the correction meetings, and we'll move forward and get ready for Sunday.
Did you come out of yesterday's game with any injuries that impact you going forward? And also, Chidobe Awuzie, can you update us on him? Did he have a setback last week, or was he just not quite yet ready?
He just was not quite ready. So hopefully he'll be ready to go this week. But we'll take him through the practice structure and see where that where that leads us. But no, I have no major injuries at this point to announce.
Can you update us on Andy Dalton? Is he clear protocol? Is he good to go?
I mean, Andy has not officially cleared the protocol. So once we make it through that, hopefully we'll announce that to you.
Is it simple as the offense has struggled the past 3 weeks? Is it simple to say that the loss of Dak Prescott has been the major factor in that, or are there other things that work here that has caused you guys to struggle in scoring points?
Well, I think number one, it starts with Dak. I mean, anytime an offense loses its starting quarterback, especially the way Dak was playing. I mean, he was playing at a high level. Was obviously a ton of production, but I think also the combination of the other injuries. It just as we've talked time and time again in here, the losses to the offensive line. When you lose, a number of veterans at one position, it's obviously an added stress.
Mike, where did you see improvement from your defensive line yesterday? And looking at film, how would you assess Randy Gregory's effectiveness in his first game with a more meaningful snap count?
I thought the defensive line, definitely played better. Definitely took a step in the right direction. I think our pressure and our activity was what we're looking for. The run defense is something we're still working to improve on. We need to be better there, particularly early in the game. But I thought Randy did a really nice job. It was, we wanted to get him north of 25 snaps, and we accomplished that. And he was effective. He's impactful. So I was excited about his first real. That was really his first real opportunity.
And with Election Day tomorrow, do you say anything to your players, either in terms of do y'all give them guidance on the easiest way to go vote, or about COVID safety? What's the organization line, if anything, in meetings today?
Yes, we've had a presentation a number of weeks back, so about all the ins and outs of what's available and the resources that are available for voting.
Mike, when you look at the pass game, I think Dak had 25 pass plays of 20 yards or more. Andy and Danucci have, I think, 4 in the last 3 games. The yards per attempt is significantly down from what Dak's was. What do you put most of that on? Is that a protection thing, or are you guys just calling the game differently for these guys?
Well, I mean, we're a different offense today than we were 2 months ago. I think it's already been stated with just the lineup change and so forth. So as far as how you call the game, that's something you look at each week, based off of protection challenges and matchups and so forth. But we're obviously playing differently on offense than we were 2 months ago.
And have you given any thought at all to taking over the play calling going forward?
No, absolutely not. That's a non-topic.
Back to Andy briefly, Mike. Do you anticipate him being cleared by the time you practice Wednesday? And if not, how does that complicate matters?
I mean, we're starting a game plan process tonight, so just like we normally would. But you know, as far as you know where he is, and I really don't have an answer for you. So I'm hopeful that he'll be through the protocol.
And you were asked about the D-line specifically a minute ago. Aside from the obvious of the takeaways, did you think about how the defense played overall, and how much better was it than it has been?
Well, it's significantly better in the number one priority, and that's taking the football away. You know, we had the 4 takeaways, but I think there's at least another half dozen times where we were around the football and was in position to knock the ball out, and so our takeaway opportunities was the highest of the year. You know, obviously our takeaways was the highest of the year. It was the first time we won the turnover differential ratio +2 for the game. So, and then, you know, obviously defense set the tone there early in the game.
Mike, how would you evaluate how Zeke has played through the first 8 weeks of the season?
Well, I mean, I think Zeke's had some different challenges. So, you know, he had a number of targets last night and touches. So, but yeah, I think, you know, outside of, you know, the fumbles, I think he's been effective, and, you know, he's had lineup changes in front of him. So that's always a huge adjustment for a quarterback and a running back, and I think he's dealing with the adjustments. He's done a good job of dealing with those adjustments.
Your offensive line obviously had a lot of changes. How would you assess those 2 tackles? Looked like Steele had some struggles early, and maybe he bounced back as the game progressed. How would you evaluate your two tackles right now?
Well, Kansas played a couple good solid games. Our young guys getting better, you know, each week. So, you know, he had the sack there where Graham went high on him. You know, he had the help inside. So, I mean, I think it's, you know, part of the growing pains of being a first-year player in this league. But, you know, we'll just continue to work, and I think it's important for all of our players and everybody involved here. You get to learn a lot about people as you go through adverse times, and you know, definitely we're going through those times right now. So this is something I think we'll be better off for when we get through this and able to build off of it. So, you know, as far as the evaluation of everybody, I mean, you know, no one wants to sit here and do evaluation reports when you're 2-6. So I think we clearly understand why we are, but we'll be better for it.
Sean Lee only played 4 snaps on Sunday. None of those 4 came in the second half. Was there a physical reason for his limited activity, and what was the plan going into the game?
Well, the plan was to just really to get him back, get him started. So, yeah, we you know, 4 was what he ended up with. We probably were thinking more around 10 to 12, but it was just really great to have Sean back in the fold. You know, his leadership is exemplary. So, but yeah, I just think the way the game was going and where we were, and you know, we're doing a lot of good things, we felt, defensively. So, you know, Jalen and Leighton took it, you know, pretty much took the rest of it.
On the 1st and goal from the 4 run, that 3-yard loss, was there an issue with the snap procedure on that play? What transpired?
Yes, we had a couple of malfunctions, you know, as far as the cadence operation, and that definitely was one of them.
Obviously, you've had the injuries. What's the biggest challenge going forward offensively?
Biggest challenge, I think, anytime when you have injuries is just the experience level of the next guy up. So, getting those guys incorporated, getting it, you know, getting everything in tune with the challenge in front of you. So, you know, I think the fact that we'll be able to play, you know, with the same offensive line, you know, 2 weeks in a row will be beneficial for us. But, you know, as I've stated over and over again, this has been 2020 has been an incredibly interesting year on a number of fronts. The challenges of change, you know, being constant. So I would just say the biggest challenge is the experience level of some of the new guys playing, and you have to incorporate that with the other guys, because at the end of the day, you got to make sure you're doing everything you can to, to let the offense, defense, or special teams be successful.
Trayvon had a big game yesterday. What's, in your experience, has been the most difficult adjustment college corners have to make when they come to the NFL?
I think really based on their style and their strengths and weaknesses, but I think the ability to make plays on the ball, and he's exceptional. I don't recall seeing a young corner with his ability to make plays on the ball in the air. Now he's a rookie and he's getting tested, but he's answering the challenge. So I mean, he had a number of opportunities yesterday, and obviously had the 2 interceptions, but he had his hands on a few other balls.
Mike, you talked about the young guys having to step up and getting these opportunities. How do you think Tyler has played at the center position? Given the circumstances around him, as with Zach being out last week, and just everything that's been around him there.
Well, I think he's played very well. I mean, he's done a lot of really good things, particularly picking up scheme adjustments in the middle of a game, handling the declarations and so forth. Frankly, the biggest challenge is he's on his his 3rd quarterback, so the cadence and the cadence operation and all that has been different this past week. So we had a number of those tough situations occur in the game. Obviously, the last big fumble was a situation where we felt the linebacker was off sides. He snapped the ball early, then the pressure it turned into a sack fumble in return for a touchdown. So I think he's doing a lot of things very well, and but frankly, he's anytime you're a center or a quarterback, when there's change around you, it affects those 2 positions the most.
And Randy was suspended when you started and everything. What have you learned about him ever since he's come back and been incorporated with the team, and how did that translate?
Randy's come in. He's done everything that's been asked of him since I've been here, and just really like the path that he's taken. Whether it's going through all the workouts leading up to this point. So I mean, he's earned this opportunity, and it was great to get him some shots yesterday. So I thought he was very productive. He's always going to apply pressure when he does rush. He has that type of ability.
Mike, can you talk about the defensive tackle you acquired from Houston, what it was you liked about him, and how you envision incorporating him?
Well, and I think the biggest thing when you watch him on tape is he can set an anchor. So I think he'll really fit, our style of run defense, and I think his first opportunity is going to be when we get on the field Thursday. So looking forward to getting him in the mix.
And also, with the trade deadline coming up, would you anticipate the club being active and doing anything leading up to the deadline?
I mean, I don't think so. I mean, it's nothing surprises you in our league, but really our focus is on improving in the areas that we need to improve. We felt like we took a step in some particular areas of our overall football team, but we're clearly not where we want to be. And that process really starts tonight, getting ready for Pittsburgh.
Did you like what you got out of the wildcat formation, direct snap to Zeke, and we use that going forward? Is that was just a Danucci thing for the Eagles?
Well, I mean, those are scheme specific questions, but I thought it gave us a nice wrinkle. Really why you do it. It is sometimes different for others, but I think it's a good adjustment. It's ability to do some common things, and but it's definitely a change-up.
Mike, what was your message to the team today in terms of emphasizing that they did improve yesterday, but also that you have a long way to go?
Well, speaking to the team last night in the locker room, that's specifically what I talked about. Talked about where we were going into the game, what we needed to accomplish. Made made a point of a number of things that we did improve on, but the reality of it is, it's about winning games, winning division games, and the focus that we need to put into this particular week. We all understand this is a very good opportunity. We're playing an undefeated team, and definitely a big chunk of confidence would come with this win.
And it sounds like Andy is moving towards a return, or at least that's the hope. But what do you tell Ben DiNucci now that you've had a chance to look at his film? Where do you think he was most successful and struggled the most?
Well, these are the most important reps for any player, especially a young quarterback. So, this is a video that he'll spend a lot of time on, time and time again, because this is really the beginning of the things that you'll continue to chart. His footwork and the number of plays that he was able to play, the different play types and concepts that he was able to play in. Obviously his decision making, his ability to take care of the football. So just really he needs to learn from this experience.
Mike, on the offensive line, you hear a lot of people say, hey, play your best five and then figure out the positions. Are you more position specific, matchup specific when you're looking at where you want your five guys to be? And I guess I'm asking the question about moving Zach out to tackle. Was that a matchup because Fletcher Cox is in there that you felt that was the best opportunity for him, or is Zach at right tackle only a break glass in case of an emergency thing?
I think it's football, fantasy football nonsense, unless you have 10 veteran offensive linemen on your football team that you can interchange like that. When you're dealing with young players, different combinations, you don't have an off season, you don't have OTAs, you don't have a real training camp to think you're going to just pop people in and out of positions. I definitely don't think that's the right way to go. I've talked repeatedly about our offensive line, the importance for these guys to play together day in and day out. So you're always working different combinations. There's combinations that we work every week that that Zach potentially could go outside, but you only have so many reps that you're able to accomplish in a day. And let's face it, the offensive lines that play the best line up and play the same positions next to each other over and over and over again. So I think that's the most important variable in having a successful offensive line.
And then with Amari yesterday, I think he was just targeted once or twice. Was it something that they were doing specifically, or was it just Ben on his first read and just get rid of it at some point? Where was Amari in terms of how much he was utilized or not utilized yesterday?
Our passing game wasn't very good yesterday, so I wouldn't take into too much, targets and things like that. So we were definitely not where we wanted to be.
Donovan Wilson played the majority of defensive snaps yesterday, had the strip sack. What were your overall thoughts on his performance, and what have you seen in his development?
He's played well. I thought he graded out well. He obviously had the impact, sack, fumble, return there that it really got everything started for us. So he's doing an excellent job taking advantage of this opportunity. So I thought probably yesterday might have been his best performance, best he graded out all season.
Mike, you're 2-6, but the division title is not out of reach. Is that even part of the conversation right now?
I think it's the obvious conversation. I think it's a waste of time to really talk about it. I think the fact is you got to focus on putting all your energy into winning your third game. So, that's why we play 16 games. We're at the halfway point. There's a number of things that we want to improve on, and we know we have to improve on those things to get to get these wins that we need. So, really, my focus is on getting that third win.
Your team completed its third straight full month without a single positive COVID-19 confirmed case. What do you make of the success there? To what do you attribute it? And have you acknowledged or addressed it all with players?
Well, it's part of the team meeting messaging pretty much almost every day, or definitely a couple times a week. There's always feedback that our football operations is giving us as far as what the new emphasis is and how we can continue to improve on it. And I think our players and staff have done a very good job, the best they can as far as the social distancing and the tracking and all those components that go into it. So, hopefully we can keep it going.
That's it. Thank him, Coach.
Okay, thank you.